Well, good morning and welcome back. Part 3 of the deck build. And today we start digging post holes. And I've got the auger hooked up on the tractor. If you watched the last video, you saw the setup of that. I could encourage you to go back and check it out if you didn't. It works great. I tested it already. I took it out in the field to the corners of our property. I wanted to put a couple of 4x4s there just as corner markers. And so figured I can't really hurt anything out there. It did a great job. It was the easiest post hole I've ever dug. It was amazing. I just ran it in the ground. I was very careful. It does want to pull. I mean, it really wants to pull. You don't want to let it go too far. If it starts going on its own, you want to shut it down a little bit because it'll take off. So anyway, I got to get all these strings out of the way. I'm going to remark my holes. They're still there, but I'm just going to freshen up the paint a little bit so I know exactly where I'm going. And we're going to get drilling.
That's it right there.
Yeah, you got to think of the physics of this length here, as it goes down, I'm exaggerating,
Yeah.
is going to push this out more. So
you want just a slight
bit, because you know the top of the hole, where you really have to worry about is once it gets down, you know, this deep. If you're crooked, then it's going to keep going crooked. So yeah, it should be a slight bit towards. That's probably about right, I think.
Yep. I'm just sighting it by the corner of the house.
Yeah, that's good. All right, here we go. So we got our holes drilled, and now we need to do footers. So we covered all the holes with plywood for safety, because you don't want to fall and break a leg. Just a real safety hazard to have that kind of a hole just sitting there waiting for you to hurt yourself. So we covered our holes with plywood, and now it's going to take about half a bag of an 80-pound bag of concrete to make a 6-inch footer for each of these. That's what I'm kind of guessing. Also, 4,000 psi concrete. You need to have at least 3,000. So 4,000 psi concrete is going to do it. It's pretty much what Home Depot has sitting out front, so you're good there. Anyway, we're going to start mixing it and start pouring. OSHA would have a fit that we're not using masks. Right in the middle there.
You always add more, but you can't take it away.
That's true. That's good. All right, so we're going about half. We're just going to take this tamper here and just flatten it out. So you got a nice semi-flat level surface once that concrete dries. Okay, my friends, today is a good day because all of the excavation is done. All of the holes for the posts are drilled, and I have poured all of the footers. They sat overnight, so I am ready to start putting posts in the ground. I'm actually going to start building something. It's such a long, difficult process just to get ready to do it. But it's all laid out, it's all done. All of the hard work should pay off because, you know, knock on wood, because all of that figuring and measuring that I did, once I start putting posts and beams in, you know, these are the critical parts right here. So if I mess something up beforehand, it's going to show in this step. All right, next thing we need to do is find the tops of our posts. Yeah, nice and tight. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm determining the height of the beams. I have to go down there and measure on the wall. I've got marks on the wall as to exactly where these beams, the tops of them, are going to be. Then stretch this string and put a line level on the string so we're straight across these holes, and I can measure down to the footer and know about how high the beam should be, or how high the post should be. Now, to determine the height of this string, which is going to be the top of our beam, I first have a sample piece of this Trex, and it is 1 inch exactly thick. Okay, so that's going to sit on top, and we're going to try to make this deck come 1 inch below this trim. That's our goal. So it gives us a little bit of a play, just in case we're off by a hair. 1 inch below the trim. So 1 inch below the trim, then underneath that is going to be a joist, and these are 2x8 joists. Nominal width of a 2x8 is actually 1.5 inches by 7.25. So we're going to then come down another 7.25 inches from there, and that is going to be the top of our beam. So 1 inch plus 7.25 is 8.25. So because that piece of trim doesn't come all the way out here, I measured up to this edge on the siding, and I need to come down 10.75 inches, and I'll make a little mark at 10.75 inches. Pencil. Take my level and project that out. To right there. Now we're going to put our line level in the center of the string, and when that's level, we'll know the height of our posts. That looks perfect to me. Now I'll take each one of these boards off, measure down to the footer, to the string, and I know how high each post will be. So the way these posts are going to work is the very top of the post really doesn't matter that much. There's going to be an L-shaped notch out of the top of the post where the beam is going to rest and then be bolted so it has direct pressure on the post and is supported by the post. Then I'll put lag bolts through it and that'll hold it in place. Anyway, the top of that post can be off as long as it's not higher than where the beam sits, it's fine. So I can actually shave a little bit off of that later if I need to. So I think I'm going to add like 1/4 inch to every one of these measurements just to be safe. Did you know that 16-foot treated 6x6s are heavy? Gently place it in the hole. It looks about perfect. And I'll just keep repeating that process for every post. Well, all right, now it's starting to look like something. There's wood sticking out of the ground. Oh my goodness. So all of the posts are cut to length and they're just resting in the holes on top of the footers. Next, it's the beams. Okay, so I'm gonna start up here next to the house. Now, here's the beam, the post, here's the beam, and this brace here I just made out of scrap lumber, okay? Scrap 2x4 that was down in the barn, actually. Anyway, so the brace is gonna hold the post somewhat plumb. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect yet. We're not backfilling. We're just getting the height of the beam so we can mark it on the post. Now you have to decide which side of the post you're going to put the beam on. I'm going to put it on the side closest to the house. It gives me the maximum span and gives me the least amount of cantilever. Anyway, so put the braces on 2 posts, clamped the beam to each post, and I got it level. Now I'm just going to mark the bottom of each side of the beam on each post, and I'll know exactly where that beam is going to sit on the post. Make sure your pencil is nice and sharp for these marks because these are very important. So I should also mention every post I numbered according to what I have on my plans, and they're numbered on a specific side, so I know this post is going to go back in this hole exactly the same way that it came out. So I can now take these out and I can cut the notch where the beam is going to sit on these 2 posts. So it's important to note that the way I'm cutting these posts is a code-approved method. The post is going to be supporting the beam. It is never a good idea to just lag a beam to a post. Just screw it to the side of it, because then all you have for strength is the shear strength of the screw or the lag. And if something goes wrong with that, or over time it could bend or it could come loose, it's just really a horrible way to do it. You must have your beam supported by your post, sitting on your post. So I'll be cutting this L shape. So we made our mark here where the beam's gonna go. Then need to transfer that mark to the other side. And we're going 3 inches in. 3 inches is the width of that double 2x10 beam, because nominal 1.5 inch times 2 is 3 inches. I have checked, double checked, triple checked all of my measurements. Checked the post for plumb, checked the beam for level. Now it's time to connect the beam to the post. I am using these huge 8-inch long, 1/2-inch carriage bolts. And the reason I'm using 8-inch is because they were cheaper. So I don't care, there's a little extra sticking out. Anyway, got to drill them first. This is a 1/2-inch carriage bolt. I'm drilling at 9/16. You want to have a little bit of extra wiggle room, because contraction and expansion, all this other type of stuff, these carriage bolts are just holding the beam on the post. That's it. So, you know, they need a little bit of play, it's okay. I'm gonna have to get a 3/4 inch deep socket so I can tighten these with the driver, because this is gonna be, it's gonna get old fast. Now all that's left to be done for this beam is to backfill the hole. We're using gravel. Once again, it's code approved and it's not going to rot the beam. And there it is, the first beam, and it is perfect. So now all I have to do is do it perfect 21 more times. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lot of work for just 3 days. It was 3 days ago that I started drilling the holes, putting the posts in, putting the beams on the posts, and today I can look at this and say I'm glad that I have all of this done to this point, because we are supposed to get rain, like 5 days of rain. So at least the holes are backfilled and I don't have to worry about them filling with water. I'm gonna get some weed block and some stone put on top of this so it won't be mud, and we'll just see what happens next. But hey, I really appreciate that you're coming along and that you're here and that you're liking and subscribing. The channel is growing, it is growing, and I love it. Slowly but surely every day we get more. So if you like this type of stuff, you like what you see, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But here it is, the end of part 3 for the deck build.